Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Kratom Sobriety Podcast. This is episode number 30, and I am Decima.
Thanks, Decima. And this is Charlie. And this week we have an interview with Eva, who might have been our very first listener. She definitely was the original gangster social media follow for the Kratom Sobriety Podcast. And I'm very excited to have her on this week and hear her story. All right. And this week we're going to talk about getting things done while not on Kratom. Many of us experienced like some productivity gains when we first started using Kratom. And then we felt dependent on the substance to get our to-do list done every day. And eventually some of us, including myself, I could not get out of bed without Kratom. And then at the very end, my productivity really tanked, where I was basically just laying around watching TikTok videos while high in Kratom and the dishes piled up in the sink.
Absolutely. I had the same exact experience where Kratom turned on me. In the beginning, I took it because it gave me energy. It made my mood better. It made me more social. So I was truly and in reality able to get more done at that time. A lot of us like to call it the honeymoon phase. And then it turned on me. I started doing the same thing, scrolling and telling myself that I'm taking it so that I can get some stuff done. But in reality, I'm not. So I absolutely can relate to that and that feeling of when I quit, how in the world am I ever going to have energy to complete tasks and to get things done?
Jacob and Chad touched on this last week. And last year I had a pretty good year at work, both in terms of I'm a freelancer. 2022, while I was in Kratom, I was performed well at work. I made more money last year and I had more clients. This year, while most of this year I've been off of Kratom, at least since March, I have not bounced back in terms of the number of clients and money. I think Kratom had an effect on me where it made me a little manic, especially when I started using it daily. I had that honeymoon phase too for a couple of years. I just look back last year, like I really went crazy on my gardening, and this year,
right.
This year in the first week in June, I bought like 2 tomato plants, 2 pepper plants, and 2 cucumbers, and had a very pathetic garden this year, but I was Kratom free. But I'm trying not to, I don't want to romanticize, like I got things done when I was on Kratom because I was a little sloppy and I definitely did not get stuff done at the end,
Well, and we also were doing too much in reality at times, putting our bodies through way too much. We would, if we're taking Kratom, we're not feeling that pain that we would probably naturally feel after a hard day's work. I did the same exact thing as you last year. I had an amazing pool. We put up a fence. We put sand in there. Like we had this awesome setup. And then this year, it just kind of sat there unused and I barely tried to clean it. And it was an adjustment. And I'm with you. I don't want to romanticize it, but this is the reality of what happens to us. I mean, we wouldn't get hooked on it and take it for so long if it wasn't helpful at first or gave the illusion of being helpful while it's actually hurting us. So that is a big deal for a lot of us. And I know for me that it was one of the hardest parts of quitting, wondering how am I going to have energy? Am I ever going to feel normal? And I feel normal again, as normal can be, described. Energy is it's not that I don't have the energy. It's just more of a sustainable amount of energy. I'm not overdoing it. Yeah, everything doesn't get done, but another thing I wanted to touch on was not just getting things done like tasks at work and things like that, but also our reliability to others, them being able to depend on us, showing up for things like I'll just use this podcast for an example as a task of something I had to do. In the past, I probably would have blown off things like this, meetings and just different things, even football practices in the afternoons, things like that. And I found that now that I'm clear-headed, I am really showing up for things even on days when I don't feel my best. I don't talk myself out of doing the things that I know I need to get done for that day, because it's real important to me to be reliable. I want people to know that they can count on me, because I wasn't there for them in my in my using days. Can you relate to any of that?
Yeah, definitely. The reliability is both to myself, so I can count on myself now way more not to flake out. And then the people around me, the same. If you're somebody that you're going through a divorce or you lost a job or are going through an addiction, try a new project, start a new project, learn a new skill, and this podcast has given me a lot of energy and something to focus on. But there has been ripple effects in the rest of my life. It hasn't been perfect. And especially at the beginning, like the first 90 days, there was just days where I just flaked out. I had to, I'm freelance. So I have a business partner. So there was a couple of times I had to rely on my business partner to like carry some more weight. I sort of miss that manic feeling that I had. I guess the last thing I'll just say is I think, I'm a product of the 70s. I think I'm a little bit older than you, but there's just some downsides to getting middle age, after 50.
Yeah.
And one of them is just, I don't have the energy I had in my 20s or 30s or even my 40s. I'm more prone to wanting to take a nap or needing a nap just because when I go rake the leaves and I'm sore.
I think that the biggest takeaway that I would want people to take from this is once you quit Kratom and your brain starts to heal and you start living life on life's terms, it's okay that we're not superhuman. We were pushing ourselves in a way we shouldn't have been. So don't think that because you're not doing what you were doing before that you're failing, because that's absolutely not. Just keep, focusing on what's sustainable. What can you do in your life that you are going to be able to maintain and still be healthy mentally, physically, emotionally, in all ways. So that's my biggest takeaway. I know I mentioned last week that I had lost my job, and this week I'm getting ready to start a new job. I had the same experience as you where I climbed the ladder at my last job, and I did really well. And now I'm going to tell you what, I am so excited to start that again with a new company, but on life's terms and clear-headed and sober. I'm super excited about it. So please don't think, if you're listening out there, that it's not possible to ever do this again on life's terms, because you're going to soar. It's going to be so much better, and it's going to be sustainable and healthy.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And that's some good news. And I think that's a positive note to end on.
Sounds good to me.
Now for this week's interview. Welcome, everybody, to the interview this week. I'm very excited. We have Eva, who's the very first person I met in the wild when I set up this idea of a podcast. She was the original person I connected with, and it was really meaningful because before I thought it was just Reddit and these anonymous names. And I met Eva like a real person with a real name, picture of her. And so thank you, Eva. How would you describe yourself to our audience?
I'm Eva. I'm 38. I'm a Kratom addict. I'm a queer femme, Pittsburgher, an artist. I'm a punk. I love music. I'm part of the music community. I love nature, astrology, and reality TV.
Do you have any favorite sports team in Pittsburgh? It's a sports town, or is that not your scene?
I mean, I don't like sports, but I always love the Steelers because I love Pittsburgh, so.
When did you quit Kratom?
I'm 43 days sober today, so.
Great job. And why and how did you first start using Kratom?
So I saw it at the head shop. I was living in the Bay Area, and I would go do whippets a lot. So I was going to the whippet store basically, and there was Kratom. And I kind of heard of it before, and so I decided to try it. I'm an anxious person, so I found relief in like pills and benzos and opiates back in the day. Kratom came into my life 7 years ago. I feel like I started using it off and on. Like I started with the capsules. That slowly became expensive, and so I switched to powder. I would like buy kilos at a time, so it was never like an expense thing. But I definitely like when I first started taking the powder, like I would throw up a lot because it was really gross. But I still kept taking it, and like now I could just take it like dry, like swash and toss or whatever they call it.
And did you ever get into the extracts?
Sometimes I would take them sometimes, but not like often. They're like even grosser, and it was just like really intense. It's like almost like methadone or something. I don't know.
So you mentioned you did have a history of struggling with some other substances. Could you talk about that?
Yeah, I've always loved pills, like benzos, opiates, downers. Like I'm like a really nervous person, so that was like always like my go-to. Like they were around a lot more back in the day, like the early 2000s. Like everybody had them, so like in high school is whenever I started to take them.
Did you ever go to treatment? And did you eventually quit all those?
Never went to treatment, but like eventually like they became less and less pills, the harder to come by. Like there's a lot of fake pills out there. Like also moved away like from Pittsburgh for a while to try to get away from pills, like so I would have less contact. So I never like went to treatment, but like I always like found relief in it. But yeah, when it was less available and I found Kratom, it was like perfect because I was like, this feels the same, like, and it's like good for you, it's not, there's no overdose or anything bad. Like, at least that's what I thought at the time.
When did you first think, wow, using Kratom is causing me a problem?
I never really thought Kratom was a problem at first until I started noticing my moods being really extreme. Like I've been like kind of an intense person, but like I would get really angry and like freak out on people. I burned a lot of bridges. Like I lost best friends. Like I told my grandma I hope she dies. Like I mean, it was just really intense, and I thought maybe I had like some mental problem, but I realized like after I quit that it was definitely the kratom that was doing this.
How much were you using at your highest point?
I didn't really measure it much, but I was like taking multiple tablespoons like throughout the day, or like I would just pour like a inch or something in a cup and just like drink it.
Did you ever experience withdrawals when you ran out or when you traveled or anything?
I always had it with me because I didn't really go out of the country at first.
Okay.
Yeah, and so I didn't really notice that at first. I wasn't trying to quit because I just didn't think it was a problem. So until like my near death experience. So
I didn't realize you had a near death experience. Could you tell us about that?
yeah, so I got some like ultra enhanced powder from a website like that I've been ordering kratom off the same website for a really long time, and I like bought some enhanced powder because I was like getting a little bored with the regular powder. And like I took a little one night, and then I took a little bit more, and like the next thing I know, like I had passed out. I don't know if I had a seizure or what, but my boyfriend heard me fall from upstairs, and he ran downstairs. I was like unconscious, and he was giving me CPR, and it didn't work. I like turned blue, and then he kind of just like punched my chest like in giving up, and then I came to. I don't know what happened. Like the ambulance came, I went to the hospital. I don't think I told them about kratom. I just never really like disclosed to the doctors about any drug use because I didn't want to be treated badly. I don't know. I don't know if it's serotonin syndrome because I'm on SSRIs. I don't know if it was a seizure, but something crazy happened. So,
Yeah, how long ago was that?
in 2020. It was like
Okay.
right the first month of the pandemic, like in April.
Oh, that was a wild time to have that experience and be involved in the pandemic.
Yeah. Yeah, it really was.
And you weren't doing any other kind of drugs you other than your prescribed SSRI?
Yeah. I mean, I smoke weed all the time, but I don't think that like affects it. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think there's any interactions with marijuana. There is known reactions with antidepressants. There's an enzyme that both of them process that interaction, or if there was other stuff in that particular batch, or if it was particularly potent. Without testing, we're just speculating. So did you, after that experience, did you try to quit or cut back?
Yeah, I mean, I was scared. Like, my family knew then. Like, I didn't tell anybody about Kratom. I mean, I told them like, oh, it's a tea, but like I had to like tell everybody, so that was pretty crazy. And like honestly, like I had a lot of friends die from drugs, especially in like 2019 through 2021. Promised myself that if I ever had like a near death experience that I would take it seriously. And so I started trying to quit, but like I couldn't make it. Like just a couple days, like I would be running to the store, like running. Like I tried off and on like for a year. I never really made it like more than a day or two. And then I like found the Quitting Kratom group on Instagram. And so when I started doing that, that was like it really felt validating because I just felt crazy and alone. Like all the people in the community are on harder drugs in my community, and like or they used kratom for harm reduction. Like no one took it seriously at all. Like
First off, most people I interact with have the pronunciation of kratom, but I don't know. Where do you think you got the origination kratom? I think that's what
yeah.
you're calling it, right?
Yeah, I call it kratom. I sometimes say kratom to like fit in with the group, but
Yeah.
whenever you pronounce, like when you go to Google and do the pronunciation, it says kratom. So I feel like
Yeah.
I'm right.
Yeah. And there are a couple other pronunciations too, I've heard. And yeah, so you're in a community where, so,
Yes. Yeah. It's like kind of like weed to people. They're just like, whatever. I'd use it when I'm hungover. Like, I've been on heroin and now I'm on this and I feel like I'm doing good.
you've already talked about the difficulty in quitting. I know earlier in this year, I think you had like 90 days.
Yeah. Well, I'd say 57 days. And then I use like maybe once a week
Okay.
for like a little bit off. And I still wanted to get those 90 days though.
Yeah. How did that relapse happen? Like, talk us through it. Just, I think listeners can relate to it and maybe we can learn from it.
Yeah. I mean, I was shocked that I was able to quit at all. Like, I just have been trying for years. I felt hopeless. I kind of gave up for a minute. I stopped going to the group. I was just like, well, I'm just going to try to maintain this for like, and just, ride it out or something. I don't know. Then, I don't know. I just had like a bad day. I like drank a bunch of kratom and cried. I was mean to my girlfriend. Like, it was just like a really bad day. And like the next day I went to like a kratom meeting for the first time in a while, and I don't know, it just like clicked. I was just really over it. Like I don't know. I just was able to like get through it somehow. But it was really hard because I had to like, like I'm thinking about it constantly. Like it's just like nonstop cravings. So it's just hard to battle. It's like, every minute you're like trying to say no, and then there's just 1 minute out of the day where you say yes. But like I had gone through some like really crazy stuff in my house that I was living at the time, and so that kind of triggered it.
And then the once a week, did that eventually escalate?
Yeah. Yeah, like once I like the seed was planted, like that I tried it once, even though I felt like I didn't need to take it the next day or the next day, like I thought about it and I was like, maybe next weekend, and then like slowly it's like, well, just twice a week. Like it's not as bad as it used to be. And then like slowly over a few months, like it just started to like come back, and I was like hiding it and lying and like all the other things that I was doing.
Yeah, that can be very demoralizing.
Yeah.
I think like, yeah, once you cross that line, then it just becomes easier to erode your standards, motivation not to use it. If I understand right, this time you went with medicated assistant treatment to help you with this quit.
Yes, I got the Vivitrol shot. I had to stop taking kratom for like 7 days before, and I mean, I did like 2 days and then I used and then 2 days. And I just hoped that I wasn't going to go through like precipitated withdrawal whenever I got the shot. But for some reason I didn't. And I was able to get on it and it like instantly took my cravings away.
Wow.
I still went through withdrawal though. Like physical wasn't as bad as the first time I quit, but the mental was just as bad.
And have you had any adverse side effects from the injection?
It's definitely like making my stomach hurt a lot. And like more recently, like I just got my second shot. I've been losing my appetite. It's just like I'm hungry, but nothing's appetizing, which is like really kind of affecting me. So it's just making me kind of weak. But I mean, like, you know, like with like teas and supplements and just making myself eat like no matter what, or the benefit outweighs the risk.
And how was finding treatment I mean, it's a big metropolitan area. Was it easy to find a provider?
No, actually it was kind of hard. Like I went to my primary doctor and she couldn't prescribe it to me, which I thought was really crazy. So I went to like a local LGBTQ like center and they like do harm reduction stuff and they were able to get me on the shot even though I didn't have health insurance.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
So how has the first 30 days gone so far?
I mean, like the first couple weeks, it was like mental anguish. I just felt so depressed. I was so down. Like it's like your brain just like plummets. It's just like it's awful. You know. I feel great now. Like I don't know. I feel like my old self, like before Kratom. Like I didn't feel that way in my last quit. And like, you know, it was like months and I still didn't feel right. But this time I feel great. Like I feel normal. I'm excited. Like I'm interested in things again. Like I want to hang out with my friends. Like, I don't know, just being normal, like participating in life. Like it feels so good. Like I really haven't felt this way in like over 7 years.
That's awesome. And during the last 7 years of your Kratom use, did you stay off the pills and other drugs other than marijuana?
I mean, sometimes if it was around, I would take pills or like, I mean, I would take different things over time, but nothing every day. Like I don't know. It was just Kratom.
And you wouldn't describe your Kratom use as a way to get off those other drugs. You did it for more mental health purposes.
Yeah, definitely elevate my mood and like motivate myself and like, yeah, like feel more comfortable in social settings. Like I just have a lot of anxiety. So, and like, yeah, I'd like kind of given up on the fact that like pills weren't going to be something I could take all the time anymore. And then just like Kratom was just like a supplement, but then it just became like a everyday thing.
So at first, was it helpful? And then eventually did those benefits fade and it turned into a negatives?
Yeah, I mean, at first it was fine. I don't remember like acting out too crazy. I don't remember like it affecting me so much. Yeah, I don't even know when it went wrong. I feel like I noticed it like around 2020 and I just figured like it was the stress of the pandemic and everything else going on. Yeah, I was just like really freaking out on everybody and just being like pissed, like ready to throw down.
Yeah, I personally call them Kratom tantrums. I mean, I'm capable of losing my temper without substances, but it's like very rare, you know, and it has to be, I got to be really caught off guard and like have lack of sleep or something, you know. But
yeah, I mean, I felt like I was like possessed sometimes. Like I really like, I remember getting in the car and driving like 90 miles an hour to go tell somebody off. Like I was just like out of control. Like
these issues with anger have gone away or been reduced since when you're off Kratom?
Yeah, I mean, like they're not even existent.
Yeah.
Nothing like that.
What seemed to help the most with your withdrawals to like ease those? Did you do anything?
I mean, like, I feel like exercise, you know, it's like when you read like all the books on addiction. I read a lot of books on addiction to like try to understand it. Like, yeah, exercise is like the best way to get your brain back to like a base level. So like I mostly just like ran and I do yoga and stuff like that.
Out of those books, is there one off the top of your mind that you like the best?
I don't remember the name. We talked about it in the WhatsApp group though, and we like started like a little reading group together on it.
Okay.
To look
Was
it
the
up.
Dopamine Nation?
Yeah, that was it. Yeah, that one was really good.
Yeah, and she focused like the principles in there. It doesn't matter what the substance or the behavior or the addictive process is, you know. So, well, you mentioned earlier. Is there anything about being queer that has made it harder or easier with your kratom struggle, or has it nothing to do with that in any way?
I mean, like, I feel like I've always used drugs to kind of ease the, like dealing with daily life, and like definitely have some trauma from like the violence and different shit that I've experienced, like me and my friends had to deal with discrimination. Like I definitely feel like I abuse drugs in general to deal with that and like be more comfortable outside in the world and in my body. So, I mean, not really like kratom specific, but I feel like definitely.
Is there a big LGBTQ community in Pittsburgh?
Yeah. There always has been. Pittsburgh's the best place.
All right. And is that where you grew up?
Yeah, it is. I lived other places, but Pittsburgh's always the best.
And how is your life today, kratom free?
It's good. I feel like I'm doing, like, I've always been an artist, but like I'm like really, I don't know, like I feel like creatively recharged. Like I'm working on like a fashion show right now, like some clothes and jewelry. So that's kind of like the biggest thing for me right now is like just like getting back into my art and getting it back out there.
Cool. Are you doing anything else other than the shot and then the quitting kratom meetings and WhatsApp group to support your abstinence?
Honestly, not really. I actually I'm going to the community college to try to get my drug and alcohol certificate. So I feel like that's kind of going to be like like having me be of service to the community. So that'll probably help with it. But I definitely know that like recovery is like quitting is like just the beginning. I really realized that last time I quit that like, just like stopping the act of doing it is just the beginning. Like the recovery part is lifelong and like you have to do it. Otherwise it's not going to work. Like, like once this shot is done, like then what, like my plan is to stay on it for 6 months and then get on the naltrexone pills and then from there try like abstinence. But yeah.
All right. And shifting gears to a little bit more fun part of the interview. What types of music do you listen to and what is your favorite?
I like a lot of stuff. I just love music. I mean, I listen to a lot of punk, like different genres of punk. Metal, I like hip hop and rap, gangster rap. But I also like lately since I've been sober, I've been listening to pop music a lot. Like, and I would say Kim Petras is like my favorite thing to listen to right now. Like her music is just so good and like exciting and fun and like I just like drive around extra in my car to like listen to it and like listen to it on repeat. Like I just wear it out. Like I don't know if it's just my addict brain, but I'm wearing it out. Like I just love Kim Petras.
And have you ever listened to hippie music like me, or would you never be caught dead?
No hippie music.
What would you say is your most helpful advice you would give someone getting ready to quit kratom?
I would say like if you can get off work, that'd be the best way to deal with the first couple days of withdrawal. But like finding a support group is like been like the like game changer for me. Like just like like just being able to like message somebody and they help you and like call you and like people giving like just unconditional like love and support is just so healing. Yeah,
Definitely. Well, is there an answer to a question I didn't ask that may benefit somebody listening?
no, actually, I mean, I feel like I really touched on everything, really.
Well, thanks a lot, Eva. It was a pleasure having you today.
Thank you, Charlie.
Okay, see you in the meeting.
All right, see ya.
Bye.
Bye.
Kratom in the headlines. Hey everybody, it's Jacob. And this week on Kratom in the Headlines, we have a posting on the FDA's website, so something a little bit different, where the FDA has gone ahead and shared an inspections, compliant enforcement, and criminal investigation warning letter that they had sent to the company Shot of Joy LLC back on September 25th, 2023. So about a month ago now. So essentially, the FDA is using existing regulations that are on the books to sort of police the kratom industry on a very, very limited and selective basis when companies are in blatant violation of the current regulations that exist. So, as some of you may be aware through what we've shared through this podcast, through our interviews with the journalist Eric Erickson, as well as some articles that Charlie has shared. Essentially, the current way that the FDA looks at kratom is they don't view it as a drug; they view it as a food product, and as such, companies can't just market that it has all kinds of different benefits for various medical conditions because it's not a proven treatment that has gone through rigorous studies and review that allow a company to make those claims. Shot of Joy is doing, and if you're not familiar with Shot of Joy, they're very similar to Feel Free. They are basically, they make shots that are composed of kratom and some shots with kratom and kava and some which is kava. But basically, they were marketing these products and treat things like depression and anxiety, and highlighting the benefits of kava and saying things like it might alleviate ADHD symptoms. And that kratom has been used for fighting depression and anxiety around the world, and that there are protection related components of kava, and just all kinds of stuff that really can't be substantiated, and that is also just not allowed for the marketing of this product the way it is currently structured. So it was interesting to see the FDA single out this company and go after them. Personally, I think it's good because, you know, a lot of us were roped into the benefits of kratom as a healthy alternative to getting off opiates or to dealing with an alcohol addiction or to treat anxiety, depression, or ADHD. And I think as a lot of you have come to find out, the reality is that kratom for some people and may have those benefits, but for many of us, we find ourselves in the kratom pickle where we are, you know, taking an addictive substance at ever more increasing dosages and ultimately ending up addicted to it. So that's kratom in the headlines for this week. We'll post a link to this inspection and compliance enforcement and criminal investigation warning letter in the show notes. And yeah, hopefully we can see maybe a little bit more of activity from the FDA on this front to go after other products that are making claims like this as well. So that's kratom in the headlines for this week.
Resource of the week. This is a kratom tapering tool that's in a spreadsheet that is interactive, and you can adjust it to make your own plan of action to get off of kratom. Make a copy and save it to your Google Drive, or you download it as an Excel file and use it on your desktop. This quitting tool was originally from a Reddit thread. It has some info that you enter at the top, including your starting daily dose, then the amount of days you want to taper, then the doses per day, the start date, and then it automatically will calculate your end date for your taper, and it will automatically calculate your taper factor. Then it will populate below in the spreadsheet the date, the dose for that day, and if you have multiple doses, it'll calculate per dose and the grams per dose. I think it's an interesting DIY tool that you can use to adjust your different tapering plans. You could do a quick taper using it. You could do an extended taper using this tool. You could even adjust it. It's set for grams for each dose, but if you were doing like shots, you might be able to adjust the entry data per shot. Check the show notes, follow the link to the Google Sheet, make a copy for your own Google Drive or download as an Excel table, and make use of this if you need to taper and get off Kratom and quit for good. And that's it for the resource of the week. So before we close out today, I wanted to read a message we received from another Charlie out there on social media. He writes, quote, "Just wanted to say I've listened to all the episodes twice now during my long commutes to and from work. This helped me remain motivated to stay on track, and I hope you continue cranking out new episodes. Thank you for your hard work on this podcast, dude." Unquote. You're welcome, and thanks for listening. And I just thank all the other team members that I have. Krista earlier in the summer, and Decima and Jacob are essential to this podcast. If you want to get in touch with us, check also the show notes. All of our social media handles are there. There's also a voice number. You can leave a message. If you leave a audio file, we will play it on the air unless you tell us not to. And until next week, keep it Kratom free.